Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of Formula One 2019 Career Mode. Today we go to the Chinese Grand Prix. I was hoping to have this video out much earlier, but I was having a lot of problems getting this video completed, but finally we have it out here for the Chinese Grand Prix. There we sit P10 in the points, 2 spots ahead of our teammate of Roman Grosjean as he sits P12. You see the qualifying, the weather was actually going to be rain in the first session mainly, so it was certainly a bit of a concern for myself, but I was fairly confident. We did pretty well in the rain. In I think it was Australia, we ran pretty well in our first round of qualifying, so I was pretty confident coming into the qualifying event there, as there was a major lag there with the Formula One little cinematic here on the screen. But we would get ready to make our lap here, coming through in Q1, sitting in P20. Hadn't gone till the very end of the round because it was starting on the wet tire. The rain was a lot heavier at the beginning of the round, requiring a wet tire, and I knew it was going to let up a bit, so I didn't bother going out and making a lap, but it was a pretty decent lap right up until we came into the last corner here out of the left-hander, having a lot of oversteer after getting onto the curb, having to make a big save, and that would completely kill it, and we would go P16, one spot out of the second qualifying round. So we will start P16 for the Chinese Grand Prix. Not what I was hoping for. I certainly felt like we had more pace in the car, but our teammate Grosjean, he would make the second round, and we actually had Valtteri Bottas get eliminated in Q1 as he didn't make a second round, or a second run, so hopefully we can go up into the race and run much better. So let's get straight into it and hope for a good run here for the Chinese Grand Prix.
It's time to find out which driver is up to the task of claiming the Chinese Grand Prix. We're here in Shanghai. We start a lap here at Shanghai with the long, difficult right-handers of turns 1 and 2, the first of 16 corners that make up this 3.3-mile circuit. The incredibly long back straight provides the best passing opportunity of the lap, with speeds in excess of 200 miles per hour before the braking zone of turn 14. Joining me for the Grand Prix once again is Anthony Davidson. Now, can I talk to you about Sebastian Vettel? That was a great win in the last race. Can they keep that momentum going this weekend?
There are never any guarantees in this business, but certainly the performance last time out would have boosted their confidence coming into this one.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Sebastian Vettel will start on pole. Fantastic qualifying from the multiple world champion, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Hamilton, Gasly, Devon Butler and Ricciardo, Verstappen, Grosjean, Weber and Kimi Raikkonen, Perez, Albon, Lando Norris and Kvyat. Russell, the Rainmaster, Carlos Sainz and Valtteri Bottas. Giovinazzi and Robert Kubica takes the last spot on the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Alright, we're ready to go green here for the Chinese Grand Prix.
But hopefully we can improve the situation throughout the race.
Hopefully we can, Jeff, but we were going with the one-stop strategy again now in the Chinese Grand Prix, starting, like I said, P16 behind, or to the right of George Russell behind, I believe that's Kvyat, Daniel Kvyat, and just in front of us as we get ready for this formation lap. Certainly not the part of the field that we want to be at, so hopefully we can get up towards the top 10 position, but the start is very crucial for us here in the Chinese Grand Prix, and as we came towards the end of our qualifying lap, now getting ready, formation lap but now getting ready to go green here in the Chinese Grand Prix from the 16th starting position. We certainly have our work cut out for us in today's episode after a poor qualifying result in the rain. Now as we're ready to go green now in the Chinese Grand Prix, it's 5 red lights, Sebastian Vettel on the pole, and we are going now in China. The 2 Ferraris on the front row, Leclerc sitting second just behind Vettel now as we go down into turns 1 and turns 2 for the first time. Now Hamilton looking to the right side of Charles Leclerc now as we go down towards turns 3 or 2 or 3, one of them now, as we would come through, being pretty cautious on this opening corner there as Carlos Sainz crowds me into the grass, and we make pretty heavy contact, no damage to either car, thankfully now, as we come through out of the left-hander just in front of Antonio Giovinazzi in the Alfa Romeo car now, as we head down towards the next corner. Going to send it up the inside pretty deep on Carlos Sainz there, and check up pretty big just to make sure I don't get squeezed by George Russell there, as Sainz is going to continue the fight though on my left-hand side as we head down under the sign towards the left-hander, side by side with Sainz through the bend, and he is not going to lift, and neither am I now, as we go down into the right-hander, continuing to battle side by side. A great opening lap scrap there as we just about clear Sainz, but he sticks his nose back up the inside now as we come through the left-hander here on the second sector of the course now, as we're going to fight back at him and look to his left-hand side as we go down the straightaway into the sharp left 90-degree left-hander now, as we are not quite able to take the position from Sainz, as he is now ahead as we go into the right-hander, approaching the carousel for the first time here in the Chinese Grand Prix. A great start, or a great battle here on the start, but unfortunately we don't really gain anything now as we go down the long straightaway, sitting P17 just behind Sainz, putting it into overtake mode with the ERS and not really gaining on him now, but now we do pick up the momentum as we do look to his left-hand side as we head down towards the hairpin, trying to take the position from Sainz now as we look to his left-hand side on the exit of the corner. Pretty even there as we have a little bit of oversteer, and we make a little bit of contact just about with Sainz now as going to the final corner. We give him the position now as we come out of it. Now we get on the curb and get very sideways, and we'll give up the position to Valtteri Bottas. But as we came now to lap 4, still behind those guys, we would actually run down George Russell though, and we would look to his left-hand side at the end of the long straightaway, and we would be able to pass George Russell and move back up into P17 as Bottas, he was slicing and dicing through the field as we were closing in now on this battle between Sainz and Kvyat. Sainz just scrapping it up today as we look to the right-hand side now of Daniel Kvyat and the Toro Rosso, and we're going to try and battle it away again with Carlos Sainz. Now he's going to the first turn side by side with the McLaren driver of Carlos Sainz. We're going to squeeze him a little bit, and he just about gets into the grass, but we keep it as clean as possible now as we take over the position from Carlos Sainz and go from 17th to 15th here within a few corners now as we come out of the corner, setting our sights now on Lando Norris up ahead. The other McLaren drivers who came through on lap 6 starting to close in on him as Albon and Raikkonen were in a bit of a battle now just up ahead of him, so this was obviously allowing me to close right up on these 3 drivers as we head down into the final corner, just trying to stick with Norris there as we get up on the curb, holding onto the car with DRS now as we went down the front straightaway behind us. Carlos Sainz still lurking in the background. We know he is certainly willing to fight it out with anyone today now as we go down into turns 1, heading towards turns 2. Raikkonen leading this group of cars as we're right on the gearbox now of Lando Norris, sorry, as we come through the left-hander coming out of it. We get a little bit more oversteer, and that would keep me behind, but as we came to the front straightaway on lap 8, we would look to the right-hand side of Lando Norris as we had the DRS to make a move now as we come through the center of turns 1, trying to keep it clean there, but I push him a little bit wide as he nearly gets into the grass there, as we are going to continue to battle it out now through the left-hander. A little bit of contact there between myself and Norris now as he gets a position for the moment, as we are going to have to try and fight back as we head down towards the right-hander. And I'm going to send it in boldly there under Norris, Daniel Ricciardo style, but the only difference is Ricciardo would have made it work there as we unfortunately go wide, but still side by side with Lando now as we go down towards the bend. Great battles so far with the 2 McLaren drivers as we do take the position of Norris. We kind of cut him off there, but we do take P14 on lap 8 now as we came to lap 10, closing in a little bit on Albon and Raikkonen there, but certainly not showing the pace that I really wanted to show here in the Chinese Grand Prix so far. I was excited to just get on to the white hard tire here in our first and only pit stop now, which is coming up pretty shortly there as Carlos Sainz lurks behind right now as we just head down the straightaway, trying to make sure we manage the gap to him as we head down into the left-hander. Like I said though, continuing to slowly reel in Alexander Albon and Kimi Raikkonen, and as we came through now on lap 11, still closing that gap on them, but just not quite fast enough. Now as Albon just about moved to the right-hand side of Raikkonen, but Raikkonen going a little bit defensive now as they go side by side out of the corner, which is going to be a big opportunity for myself now as we head down towards the last corner. I know we're going to have an opportunity to maybe set them up now as we come down the front straightaway. Raikkonen set off the track now as we look to the right-hand side of Albon as we go down the straightaway. Raikkonen clear of Albon as we head down towards turns 1. We might have a chance to look to the inside of Raikkonen, and yes we do, as we stick our nose up the inside, making it much cleaner this time through turns 1, as we usually, the first 2 times we made a pass through that corner, we kind of pushed the guy wide a little bit, not intentionally, but I certainly had learned from those 2 and was able to keep the car pinned down towards the inside more in turns 1 there. And it's getting now to lap 13, still in P12 in front of Kimi Raikkonen, setting up for our first and only, hopefully only pit stop of this Grand Prix. it will be a pit stop for the white hard tire, like I said earlier now, as we make the dive onto the pit lane. And it looks like Kimi Räikkönen maybe is going to be following us. No, that yes, indeed, Kimi Räikkönen does follow us, as well as another McLaren, which would be Carlos Sainz, as we get ready to make our first pit stop of the day, hoping for a solid under 3-second stop from the team now as we enter our pit box. They have a fairly decent stop now, as we're held for just a moment due to the Toro Rosso coming through to make the pass now as we exit pit lane. It was a 2.7-second pit stop, so it wasn't very bad now as we come through exiting the pit lane, sitting P15 at the moment. Obviously, we're going to cycle back through, likely up into 12th or so, as we head through turns 1 and down into turns 2. So certainly showing a little bit more pace recently, as the start wasn't great, but we're certainly starting to pick it up here in the Chinese Grand Prix. And I was very happy to have the hard tire on, because I felt like I'd be much stronger as it came through on lap 15, moving back up into the 12th position as our teammate Roman Grosjean up in P11 at the moment, certainly running much better than I was. Australia, we outran Roman, but in Bahrain, he outran me. We finished better than him due to the pit strategy, but he certainly had more pace, and it was certainly looking like he was showing more pace again here in China. But it actually started to even out between myself and Grosjean, as I was really able to keep with the same gap between myself and him, but we weren't really able to close it up. But he certainly wasn't pulling away from me, so we were certainly looking much stronger on the hard tire here in China now as we came through on lap 19, setting our fastest lap of the race. A caution behind us as we head down towards turns 1, and that might be a DNF for somebody, and yes it is. It's Alexander Albon in the Toro Rosso who's having a mechanical issue as he pulls over to the right hand side of the track, and Albon will DNF from the Chinese Grand Prix, our first DNF of the day here in China. Heartbreak for Albon now, with just 10 laps to go at this point in the race. If we're going to have DNFs, it needs to be in front of us. And as it came through on now lap 20, a little mid-race update. At this point, Sebastian Vettel was leading the way. Hamilton sitting P2, Charles Leclerc down in the 3rd position, as well as Verstappen and Gasly running 4th and 5th. And then Bottas was lurking down in P6. I'm not sure how Gasly was running up that far. It doesn't seem very realistic. They might have to tweak that a little bit now, as Gasly should be down towards 8th or 9th maybe. But now as we come through on lap 20, still running in P12, and as we came through another lap later, now another engine failure for Lando Norris, and the McLaren gets passed by his teammate of Carlos Sainz. So Norris, he now has an engine failure, and our second DNF of the Chinese Grand Prix has happened now as we are on lap 22 at this point, still sitting in the 12th position. No safety car called for any of these mechanical issues, as we have yet to have a safety car so far in the career mode now, 3 races in as we head down towards the last turn. So certainly really just kind of on an island of my own at this point in the race as it came to lap 24, just 5 laps to go, approaching 4 to go, still running P12, just not quite able to run down my teammate of Roman Grosjean. And at this point, Sebastian Vettel, I can confirm, he had started falling off the pace a little bit as he was leading earlier. And he would actually lose the lead to Lewis Hamilton, which I forgot to show, but he did lose the lead to Lewis Hamilton, and I believe he fell down behind Charles Leclerc as we came through, approaching just 2 to go at this point. We would come through, still running P12 as we came through now to start the final lap here in the Chinese Grand Prix. Grosjean certainly had stretched out the gap within these final few laps, but I put it up into hot lap mode on the ERS and put the fuel in rich, trying to set at least my personal fastest lap of the Grand Prix now as we come through turns 1 and turns 2. Lewis Hamilton in command here in China now towards the final stages as we come through down towards the next handful of corners. Just running my own race once again in the final handful of laps as we were once again caught up in an island of our own, just like we were in Australia and Bahrain. Just no action for us late in these races here. So far though, Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel have been the class of the field now as Lewis Hamilton comes through the final corner, and he is going to win the Chinese Grand Prix, second win of the season, and he will likely retake the points lead as Leclerc comes through to get second, and Vettel will come through down in the 3rd position as we come through now on the final corner, just holding on to P12 as we would come through to set a personal best here in the Chinese Grand Prix with a solid finish for us in China. Not good enough, but it was certainly decent.
Better luck next time.
Better luck next time, Jeff says. Obviously, like I said, it wasn't a bad result, but certainly could have been better.
And Mercedes have pulled off a great victory here today. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
Well, time management probably played quite a large role in the outcome of this one. As ever, it's not just about speed, it's all about maintaining that speed consistently over a stint, over a race distance. So being able to keep up the lap times while still being smooth on the controls and gentle on the tyres, that's really where the race was won today.
And I can see the drivers starting to approach the podium for the victory celebrations. A real team victory today. Everybody played their part. Congratulations then to Mercedes, your race winners today.
Alright, so there you see the finishing order on the screen. Grosjean 11th, myself 12th, so we're really doing a pretty good job so far against our teammate. Just could be doing a little bit better against Grosjean there, as you see the finishing order. Verstappen 5th, Gasly down in 6th, Bottas got up there. So now Lewis Hamilton retakes the point lead, 10 points over Vettel, over 30 to Leclerc. So Leclerc's got a little bit of work to do, but now we sit P11 in the standings. Haas falls down to P6 in the constructors, so a little bit more work as well to do when it comes to the constructor standings now as we head down towards the next episode. But as always, if you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe for some more Formula 1 2019 content there, as our reputation did fall down a little bit there with Haas. Now, as our sportsmanship has increased, obviously I'm more of a sportsmanship personality there, so I like to see the sportsmanship increase. But in the next episode, we go to one of my favorite tracks on the schedule, the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, a very fun racetrack to drive at. Certainly has a very high chance of a safety car happening in real life, so we might have that happen in the game there, as we do decide to make some upgrades there on the R&D, so we can hopefully be a challenge to Renault here coming shortly. Obviously, I think we have the pace to challenge them a little bit, but obviously if we have the successful upgrades, we will certainly be a weekly challenge to Renault, so hopefully we can have that there. But yeah, that'll do it for this episode, so I'd like to thank you all for taking the time out of your day to watch this one, so I will see you guys in the next one for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Thank you for watching, everybody, and have yourselves a great day.